Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Conquer the Clutter podcast for the 4th of February. Yes, we are moving towards spring. Anyway, I hope everybody has had a great week. I hope the decluttering efforts and the work you're doing are coming together for you and that you are feeling good about things. And today, just one back up a bit. So we did environmental assessment last week. How many people, if you could just put up a symbol or a thumbs up or something, how many people found that to be helpful last week? Okay. How many people found it scary? As in, it caused you to change your focus or avoid. Okay. I guess that would be a thumbs down. I don't know. But I'm still getting thumbs ups, so I'm hoping that that's good. All right. So this week, I thought that maybe the best use of our time would be to do a self-assessment. And this is not a personal self-assessment. This is an activity of daily living assessment. All right. And the reason I chose that for the process to help you gauge your self assessment is the degree to which you are not engaging safely and reliably into activities of daily living directly impact the quality of life you have and just the way a person can be at ease enough that they can not be distracted by every little thing that is frustrating to them or the piles that are haunting you. The degree to which you can engage safely and productively in activities of daily living in the areas of your home where they generally play out means that those are the experiences, if they're positive and they're available to you, those are the ways that you can get, okay, it's not the way I want it to be, but okay, this is doable. And it kind of gives you a little boost to keep going. When you have to put the blinders on and there are too many areas that really don't function, all right, um, those are the ones that kind of take your breath away a little. It's like you can't quite breathe as deeply as you do when you're feeling, okay, I'm on track here. I'm not finished, but I'm on track here. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with, and if anybody has a Conquer the Clutter book, and by the way, I don't put out duplicates or replicas of these because some bright person would doubt, not on the group, but professionally or whatever, other professions would download them and use them and they don't have the background. All right. Or then they might alter them, but they might not take virtual consulting off the bottom. And so I put a lot of work into developing these. I want them to stay as I intended for the purpose I intended, being offered and interpreted by people who know hoarding gold. All right. And so that's why they're not available unless you want to get the book and you want to use the resources that are in there in some sort of productive way. So you might do it today, you might do it in a week, you might do it in 2 weeks, and just track yourself. Okay, you can photocopy these yourself, just please don't pass them out to other people. Okay, so we're going to start with the scaling process. And just so you know, the maximum score is 100. And we're going to have 25 questions with a scale of 1 to 5. All right. So this is a little bit different from last week with positive and negative. Now, you're going to need a pen or pencil to write this down so that you can keep track of what number is associated with what impact you're experiencing. So easily is the first, all right? And um, actually, it's 0 to 5. It has to be 0 to 5. 0. Yeah, 0. Sorry, hold on a minute. There are five, back up, Elaine. There are 5 ways to rate, and there are 5 choices, 5 different columns. 0 is easily, no problem at all. 1 is with a little difficulty, a little difficulty. All right. 2 is, I can still do it, but there's more than a little difficulty. We're going to call that moderate. The next column is, no, I'm not kidding myself. This is with significant, great difficulty. All right. This doesn't just frustrate me a little bit, it aggravates me. It aggravates me to the point where if I have to do this enough, I start putting blinders on, I start feeling anxious. The frustration is beyond just tolerable. It's really takes something away from me. And number 4 is you're not able to do it. You just in that area in that this activity of daily living is occurring. Some people, for instance, can't use the kitchen sink. They can't do laundry. They can't because some other device perhaps is damaged or has broken down, and they don't want to bring somebody in to do the fix that would get that back on track. All right. So those are the kinds of ways people aren't able to do it. Not that you physically aren't able to do it. Access makes it unable to do. All right. So let's start with use clear counter space to prepare food. You can do that easily. You can do it with a little difficulty. That would be, yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the counter, but I move it and I can still do it. That's a little difficulty, okay? With moderate difficulty, oh, I feel that sense of frustration. Yes, I can clear enough space to do it, but in my mind, I just feel like I've put a weight on my shoulders when I have to do it again. All right. So that would be moderate difficulty. Great difficulty is before I make a decision about am I going to clear enough of the counter, I probably start looking for is there anywhere else I can do this? Because the the barrier is pretty significant. All right, it's difficult. And then 4 is no, I can't. I have to uh, develop another way to prepare food, maybe another place that is not logical. It is not normal for the preparation of food, but it's the best I've got without every single time having a load of work. All right. And then having to put the stuff back. All right. Second, how easy is it for you to actually walk directly to the refrigerator? And what we're really talking about there is in a kitchen, please tell me you will make it a priority to clear the floors because the only places where accidents happen more than in kitchens, and generally there falls and breaks or or fires as a result of maybe grease flying and catching on something, is the bathroom. All right. So how easy is it for you to walk to the refrigerator? 0 easily. 1, little bit of difficulty. Maybe I just have to look and kick something out of the way. Moderate difficulty. There's a path, and I have to stay on that path. Um, with great difficulty, and that was 2. 3 is with great difficulty. I have to move things out of the way to use the fridge. I get the thing. I have to put it down on something. Um, this other thing I had to move now is in the way of getting to the stove or the door or whatever, and I have to put it back. That's great difficulty. Unable to do, I don't even use the fridge. All right, I have made a different way to keep my food cold. Sometimes it's the balcony, sometimes it's the back porch or deck. And I work with people like that. All right. So unable to do means you have a fridge, but getting to it is barricaded almost. All right. And the barricade doesn't have to be terribly high. All right. Okay. Third, use the food in the refrigerator reliably, not perfectly. We're not being scrupulous here, okay? Before the expiration date is reached. Now, I know people have different beliefs and values about the accuracy of expiry dates, but we're just going to use that expiry date not as the date that you have to stop using it if your belief is you're prepared to take the chance, all right? But that when you pick something up and you check the expiry date, you are reliably, not consciously, you are reliably having to use those things beyond the expiry date. 0 easily, 1 with a little difficulty, 2 with moderate difficulty, 3 with great difficulty, 4, nope, 9 times out of 10, when I go in and I pick something out, it is past the expiry date. All right. Okay. Here's a biggie. How easy is it for you? How reliable and straightforward and safe is it for you to walk to the stove? 0 easily. 1 with a little difficulty, that would be that maybe there are some things that are in the way, but we're talking minimal. They're very temporary that it's been put down. But you know what? That temporary thing happens repeatedly, not consistently, but so it's a little difficulty walking to the stove. Moderate difficulty is there is something that is there consistently because there isn't somewhere else to put that. Or the space where that other thing could be. It could be furniture, it could be foodstuffs, it could be storage, it could be devices. I reliably have to move it. I can move it, but that's moderate difficulty because that's not the way I'm going to hope I can get you to change your safety factor in the kitchen. With great difficulty is there's stuff on the floor, but I've kicked it close enough to the stove. Um, and I've made pathways that I've never fallen on, but they're there. And they're at my feet, all right? Or they're behind me, but I know where they are. And I've never tripped over them. I've never backed up and tripped over them. All right. So I'm compensating. I am adapting to something that shouldn't be. That's with great difficulty. Unable to do is no, I'm using my counter microwave. I'm microwaving everything because I can't really get to the stove, or I can, but it's really risky. And maybe I've had an accident. Maybe I've tripped or I've almost tripped. All right. Okay. Maintain clear stove. This is so important, this one. All right. Maintain clear stove surface between cooking times with minimal effort. And I'm going to add here that there is nothing that is combustible immediately adjacent on either side of the sides of the stove on the counters. All right. All right. So again, 0, easily. 1, a little difficulty. Difficulty means sometimes I put things down that are not combustible on the stove, but it might be the salt and pepper shakers. It might be something that's very benign. All right. With moderate difficulty means that in lieu of the things that are on the stove, placed on the stove and that stay there pretty regularly, not maybe not when I'm cooking, but pretty regularly, I don't have enough space to put them where they belong in their own home space. That's moderate difficulty. So there aren't many, but yeah, some parts of the stove surface are storage areas. With great difficulty means that in order to cook, I have to take things that don't belong on the top of a stove and I have no other place for them. I have to take them and move them, all right, somewhere else. And then after, in order to use that space, I have to move them back. Unable mean, and I have had this happen, that people can't use the stove, all right? And so they're using, what do they call them? Toaster ovens instead. They're using barbecues outside on the porch instead. Okay, that would be unable to do. Maintain faucets in functional order with drinkable water. Now, that may sound extreme, but believe me, in my world, it isn't. Okay? Are you comfortable? So the acid test on that one is, are there things that are broken in your house? It doesn't just have to be the faucets. All right? It could be anything. But we're talking about the kitchen here right now, so we'll use that as an example. Are you comfortable having services in when maintenance is needed? And that is a bellwether. If you ever have to say no to that, and it's more than a week because you're in the process of super cleaning an area or you're decorating or you're wallpapering or you're doing something else, but it's a very short time that you wouldn't have service people in. That's a real, that bell rings loudly, people. All right. So by this time, you know 0 to 4. Okay. And so when you can't invite people in, another way to check how serious that is and how disruptive to your life is, have you spent necessary funds on acquiring items to work around it? So the furnace isn't going, but you've spent money that you really didn't want to spend. Or maybe you don't really have that extra to have space heaters. The electrical panel isn't functioning. You're getting sparks or you've blown whatever. Tell me it's not fuses. And so now you have one area that you can plug things into, and you have a massive extension cord with multiple plug-ins that you have to move with you in order to work around the electrical panel not working properly. Okay, can you, this is one that, we all at sometimes go, okay, no, I really have to solve this. Use the kitchen sink easily. Do you have to excavate the kitchen sink regularly in order to use the kitchen sink reliably? And how many other things are you using the kitchen sink for, multitasking it because something else isn't functioning properly? All right. Can you use the kitchen sink easily? Can you eat at a table intended for meals? Or have you sort of moved on to using other surfaces, your lap, um, those little TV trays and tables? And have you done that long enough that you're telling yourself, "Well, that's just what we do?" Um, all right. Because having a table, and it doesn't have to be a big table or a fancy table, having a table to sit and eat at that is not, that is a table. It's not an adaptive device like a TV tray or TV tables. All right. That is a way to normalize your life and to build a sense of you're moving in the right direction. All right. The more you adapt away from habits that are, now nothing is really truly normal, but more usual, the more adaptations you're making in your life. And I want you to stop today and ask you, what is prompting you to do that? And what are you saying to yourself that normalizes that? So you've removed that usual option. That's when I want you to ask yourself those questions. Maintain clear access, that's pathways, for moving around inside the house. Now, the degree to which there are pathways, all right, that would put you in the moderate to great difficulty. All right. There shouldn't be pathways. We accept pathways as a step in the progress to get to where I think you're aiming to be. All right. And so any pathways, and the bigger they are, the narrower they are, the higher they are, the more permanent they are, you are definitely you're pretty much on the line between moderate difficulty 2 and great difficulty 3. And I'm hoping that and I want you to contact me if there are areas in your home that you can't use, all right, that would normally be used as for activities of daily living, and you're in the unable to do range. Please be in touch with me. Okay. All right. Maintain 2 clear doorways to enter and exit the home. That's what I in the past have referred to as your entrance and egress routes. Egress is exit. I don't know who came up with that word or where it comes from, but that's sort of how it's often referred to. Maintain 2 clear doorways to enter and exit the home quickly in case of emergency, which means I worked with a woman, she was an absolute delight, but we couldn't, it was extremely difficult to convince her that in a narrow pathway beside the kitchen, bordering on the family room, where the back of the couch was one wall to the closest egress route, that it really wasn't a good idea to have the ironing board up there all the time. All right. Or the plant stand, the multi-plant plant stand, because there was such great light coming in the back door. People, nobody plans an accident. Nobody plans a crisis. Nobody's being hypervigilant, all right, about keeping absolutely clear, free access. And if you have pathways, please make it a priority to reduce those to increase those pathways rather to a minimum of 36 to 42 inches. All right, and try really, really hard not to do it at the cost of making the pile on either side higher. Resolve it. Okay. Use a toilet that flushes. All right. Use faucets that work, but use a toilet that flushes. And going to another area of the home to get water in a pail to pour into the toilet to make it flush, that does not qualify. And I work with people where that is where they started. All right. And I have to tell you, when we're working together, that doesn't stay that way very long. All right. But again, there's a trap there because getting a plumber in means opening yourself up to a lot of embarrassment, perhaps, and shame, letting the person in and trying to explain away what you're not proud of. So, is it a little difficulty? You do it easily, a little difficulty, moderate difficulty, great difficulty, unable to do. Maintain a bath or a shower clear and available for normal use. It is a really bad sign, all right? And if you've got blinders on and this is happening, please be in touch with me, all right? Please bring it up at the podcast. And that is when the bathtub becomes a storage place. The things you don't use very often are put in the bathtub, and then when you need the bathtub or the shower, you move those out, blocking something else. All right. You use the shower in the bath and then you put them back in the bathtub. Or maybe you significantly have reduced the availability of the pleasure of a bath or a shower because you're using that space as a storage place. Again, easily, year zero, little difficulty, moderate difficulty, great difficulty, unable to do. Okay. And I can't tell you how many people, right, when I started to work with them, accessed their bed by jumping in at the bottom of it. All right. It's almost like a bird coming in for a landing. All right. Because around the bed was not accessible at all. Okay. Maintain bathroom sink clear and available for normal use. And the faucet works. And the drain or the plug works. You can use it without unusual adaptations. By this time, you know the scale. Okay. Maintain a clear, accessible route. Please tell me this is possible. And if it isn't, be in touch with me. Maintain a clear, accessible route to answer the door quickly. All right. According to the safety corridor requirements that I have coached you on. Free, clear access. Pathways cannot be less than 36 inches, and I ask you for 42, where the location of walls allow it. Right? And people, we don't often talk about this, but though the sides of those pathways aren't any higher than your knee, that's the maximum. All right. Why? Because it can cause toppling hazards. All right. And when you're trying to exit quickly, I've got news for you. You are not going to be like an Olympic athlete. All right. It's not unusual in the stress to kind of sway a bit and hit something and knock a pile over in front of you. And then you know what happens? You end up on the floor tripping over it. This has happened so many times when I've done test runs with people just to get them to see the risk, all right, that they're not looking at. Provide seating, sofa, chairs for yourself and guests. There's a good question. When was the last time you had a guest in? All right. When was the last time you had a guest in? And did you have easily, normally accessible seating for yourself and others? Maintain completely clear bed surface available for sleeping. Completely clear. Now, the truth is, sometimes that's not the way it reads. All right. Sometimes there are things on the end of the bed. All right. But the question would be, how long are they there? So if you went in and looked at if I went in and looked at my bed right now, I've got things on my bed. All right. Clothing that I want to sort. I have to see whether it needs laundering or whether it gets hung up, whether I want to keep it or not. All right. It happens. Okay. However, how long does it stay that way? Are you trying to sleep in that bed with sharing it with other things? Are you sleeping in half a bed because the other side is storage? All right. You're really missing the peace that you deserve if you settle for that and put blinders on. Don't settle for that, please. Okay. Maintain bedroom floor spaces. Absolutely, because when you open those little twinkles in the morning, those eyes of yours, and you get out of bed, you're still probably a little bit dopey, like most of us. And you don't have perfect balance when you first put your feet on the floor, unless you're 12, all right? Which many of us here are not and never will see again. Just keep that in mind. Things on the floor, nothing. Nothing on the floor in the way, absolutely, all right, that is between you and an absolutely direct route to the door, unless this is a better way to do it. That for sure. And where is the closest wall that is a consistent wall? All right. So you could get to that wall, you could put your hand on the wall. If, for instance, the power was out and it was pitch black dark, or worse yet, you woke up and smelled smoke. All right. You can get to a wall, that is headed to the door. You put your hand on the wall, you follow that wall and the door and around the other side of the door when you get it open and the adjoining wall, and you follow that direct, not not greatly broken wall. Sometimes there'll be an entrance way to another door or something, but you can move down if you're on 2 levels to the stairs, but you still have your hand on the wall and you're following it down to a wall at the bottom where you can exit the closest entrance or egress choice. All right, because that's your biggest choice, and nothing on the stairs. If you put things on the stairs, all right, it's temporary and it's on the other side. It is not on the safety side. All right, for sure, because many people have made a safe exit because they did that. And it doesn't have to be a fire, it could be anything. All right, it could be anything that you need to exit for. Have a look at your environments and see what you can do to make that happen ASAP. Okay. Keep clothing stored so that it doesn't present a tripping hazard and remains wearable. If you put things in a pile, the number of people who do this amazes me. Um, I put clothes in a pile, all right? And when I can't do it right away or within 24 hours, I give myself a deadline. But it's not that I'm so disciplined, it's that I've learned the hard way. That thing's going to take root. If I don't make a deal with myself and I don't make myself keep my deals to myself, my word to myself, that stuff will be there for a darn long time because there are far more important things in life than the pile of clothes that aren't attended to. But then you know what happens? You come back to it and you can't remember whether it was clean or dirty, why it was there, and you end up with a whole other job that you didn't need to have if within 24, 48 hours you solved the pile. You sorted it by, yeah, no, I wore that and I think I spilled something. Yep, there it is. Okay. Okay, yeah, that just happened to get in the same pile. I'm going to hang it up. I don't need an extra job. Washing, drying, ironing, whatever. All right. If you can't do it, give yourself a deadline, and hopefully that deadline to deal with it is no more than 48 hours. Okay. Do laundry. Can you do laundry? Keeping dirty laundry stored away from heat sources. This is mostly for basements and things like that, where you've got a laundry room, maybe it's not finished, maybe the furnace or the hot water tank is gas or propane or whatever, and well, the propane would be outside, but gas, and you just kind of throw it in a pile there, and a breeze comes and it can be breezed into the pilot light. So when you're doing your laundry, if there are open, even small open flame sources, and an ignition light, all right, um, be really, really careful that that's not where you make your piles. All right, okay, because piles can travel. All right, so keep all hallways clear and accessible according to local fire code requirements. That's your minimum 36 inches. If there are piles on either side, they're not higher than your knee. Um, and as much as possible, they remain temporary. Okay. Next, keep all staircases clear and accessible according to local fire codes. That's what I was talking to you about before. Now, we had 5 children in my family, not my own family. I don't have 5 children, but I grew up in a family with 5 children. And so there was a rule. If something was going upstairs, you could put it on the stairs, but the next guy going up had to take it. All right. So when we live alone or we live in couples, same rules apply. Only now we're the next one going up half the time. So you can put it temporarily. That's not a problem. All right. But the next time you're going up, there's no time like the present, people. It's not going to get easier. All right. The next time you're going up, just pick the darn thing up, go and put it as close to where it goes. If you don't have the time to resolve it 100%, put it as close to where it goes as possible. And the next time you're in that area, you can resolve it, so long as it's not blocking a safety exit. Okay. Use, if you use bare lights, all right, you use them away from combustible items and make sure that they are unable to fall into combustible items. Now, most of the time, this is lamps where, hold on, lamps where they're like this and the bulb is here. All right, but there isn't a cover over it. That's pretty much what we're talking about. And so and well, they can be table lamps. Um, they can also be like living room lamps where if they fell over, yes, there is that cage around it, but the cage can collapse. All right. So my point is about bare bulbs. If they're not LEDs, All right. If they're conventional bulbs and they have a heat about them, please make sure that they can't fall on combustible materials, or consider changing the type of bulb so that it's not a heat producing bulb. All right. And if you have to do that little by little by little because of financial output to achieve that, just start the process. Look at the ones that are at higher risk, all right, and start there. And a bulb a week or a bulb a payday or whatever. It's that you're working toward safety. Okay. Functional use of rooms does not require permanent use of extension cords. We've talked about that a fair bit. And so the whole thing about extension cords is the only real acceptable use is that there is a device or something that requires plugging in. And in order to locate that thing where it needs to be used, that one thing, all right, is plugged in. When you get these massive extension cords and bases with, 6, 10, 12, 15 plugs, be really, really sure. All right, ask an expert if you're actually circumventing, working around the capacity of your electrical panel. You do not want to exceed the capacity that your electrical panel can manage. Okay. Keep taxes current, not in arrears, because documents are missing in the clutter. Okay. If you can do nothing else, see if you can get yourself, I can't even lift the darn thing up right now. Hold on, I'm going to try. There are 3 layers. They are on wheels. You can take it wherever you want. You can do your sorting. You can prioritize the first basket. Those are your number ones, all right? Those are the things that it's really going to be inconvenient or make a difference if you don't get those things done, right? And you know what you can do? You know all this, the peg boards and the cork boards and the this is a good alternate strategy. You can write a little note to yourself. Write a little note to yourself. Put it in priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. And then every day after you've had your 2 cups of coffee, and breakfast, of course, go and have a look at what's in number 1. Prioritize it for what you can actually do that day and do it. Do it. All right. And sometimes you're going to know whether you're falling behind or not. And there's nothing wrong. We all fall behind at times. It's just being aware of it, not turning off the warning signals so that it can really get ahead of you. And then it's like, oh, all right. Running a business as I do, the paperwork is like crazy making. You don't have to hoard in order to have those feelings. All right. So just choose a compassionate, effective, simple way to stay even. Okay. All right. Now we're almost there. Find important things such as bills, tax forms, documents for eligibility purposes. How easy is it for you to do that? Again, you know the mail, the annoying mail? If you have one of these rolly bins, all right, what you do, you bring your mail in. If you can't sort it right then, sit down for 2-3 minutes, all right, and just sort through important, not important, garbage, and all of the fillers go in recycling. Put it in basket number 1. And the first time you have a moment, start to prioritize it. What's important, what's not important. And then take out your little list, all right, and put it on the list of things to do, your to-do list. The other thing that some people find, and I think this is particularly useful if you have any degree of being overwhelmed, all right? And sometimes there are different comorbidities that go along with that, not universally, but maybe in more numbers. And that is ADD, ADHD, depression, anxiety, um, that kind of thing. All right. So if you're anywhere on that spectrum, that's your experience, then give yourself a way to externalize the message you need that will cause severe inconvenience when you forget it. And this little rolly bin thing is a good way to do it. Another way to do it is to have, I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm going to just turn this here. Can you see just the corner of my whiteboard there? That's my Uganda whiteboard with all my pictures and things on it. A whiteboard is a really great way. It doesn't have to be a big one. You can use a blackboard. Gosh, you can go to Canadian Tire, you can go to Home Depot, you can do it wherever and get yourself a blackboard, put it up somewhere. All right. And I suggest, to the degree that you're overwhelmed, a really good strategy is to just do a dump list, is what I call it. And that is, I sit and I make a list, not in any particular order, just as it comes to mind. There's no perfect way, no rules. And I write everything down that I want to not forget. All right. Things that are coming, things that are past, things that are overdue, things that are aggravating me that I need to deal with. And then what I do, all right, is I put them in categories 1, 2, and 3. And each day, as I chip away at something, all right, I acknowledge it, all right. And I also, I've got to stop saying all right. And then I also add something to the list. Maybe today I have to take the dogs to have their ears cleaned. All right, well, that goes on the list. Now, I happen to use my Google Calendar for that particular thing. But before I knew about Google Calendars, God bless Google Calendars, and color systems. All right, so when you look at it, it's not just overwhelming. I have gray for to be confirmed. I have red for confirmed. I have green for invoiced. I have mauve for personal. All right. So when I open up whatever, if you want to do it electronically, a really good way, when I open up a calendar, I don't maybe know what the detail is, but I know I've got 2 personal and 3, 4, 5 business to be confirmed or confirmed. Um, it's like a shortcut, right? So it helps you when life gets busy. It helps you not to get overwhelmed. Now, one of the things I'd like to do next week, all right, is I'd like to, with your agreement, I would like to use the podcast almost entirely to test out something that I'm going to be starting. Probably, I'm hoping it might even be April. I've got a number of speaking engagements in February and March, so it might be April before I can really get around to it. And that is basically clutter buddying, but with a group support around coaching the 10 members of the group. All right. And so can we do a dry run, a test run, and get a little feedback from you folks that will help me develop that more effectively? And next week, what I'd like to do is I would like to use the whole hour going over your conclusions, your experiences, as we've done these two inventories. And I will coach you, just like I would coach in future the people in this group. And I'd love to have your feedback on what was helpful, what wasn't helpful, what you needed, if you got something else, but you actually needed something very different. I'd really like to hear from you. Who wants to participate in that next week? It's open. It's still the podcast. Somebody just sent 1,000,000 up. Okay, well, that's good. Okay, wonderful. And everything's confidential and nothing will be recorded. Yeah, nothing's going to be recorded. Well done. Well done, people. Keep your scores, keep them at hand. And next week, we can start debriefing. Okay? Make it a great one. I hope this week is good to you and you have lots of fun and lots of did it. Not the whole thing, just one corner of it is a good start. Take care.
Can you do it? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.